Hello and welcome to the new unit PHT 7004, Leadership and Management for Health Professionals. My name's Ryan Ebert and I'll be taking you through this introductory lecture today. We'll be having a couple of lectures with me, a little bit about me if I haven't taught you before. So I'm currently the commercial business partner for Bupa's healthcare division over in the UK. So I'm based in London, hence why we're filming this today. Also the director and co-founder of occupational physiotherapy company PHW Group, on the Swinburne course external board here, as well as previously having been a director and co-founder of a couple of physio practices. So today I'm going to take you through this new unit that's going to start to introduce you to think a little bit differently, in particularly in the areas of leadership management, as well as some areas of business and commercial side of healthcare in this ever-changing world that we're entering. First of all, we'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are here on at Swinburne University. So today, as I said, it's an introductory lecture into the unit that we're looking at. So what we're going to cover is why in a physiotherapy course, or a health professionals course, I should say, are we doing leadership, management and business? Introduction of the actual unit itself and what you'll be learning. We'll explore the learning outcomes, how the term will be broken down. We'll touch on the LEADS model, which will be the framework of theory of leadership that will take you through to this unit and has helped inform the term breakdown. And I'll also introduce you to this term's assessment so that we have an idea on what to expect. But why are we teaching this? So obviously we're doing a health professional course, and health professionals are all about helping people as opposed to this world of leadership, management and business. Well, really, we're starting to introduce this to you as a result of industry talking to us and a need, and Swinburne's course here partnering with the physiotherapy, the dietetics industry, the psychology industry, our health professional industry, and what we're seeing change. And what that is that a knowledge of these areas of leadership, management and business principles is needed across not only the public sector, but also the private sector, as healthcare at a macro level across Australia continues to need to evolve to meet the challenges that we're facing. We know that healthcare is a growing industry, which is fantastic for all of us who work in the industry and all of you guys who are going to enter the industry. However, we know that health professionals inherently lack these skills in leadership, management, business, these sorts of areas. The Victorian Allied Health Workforce research paper done in 2018 identified that almost half dietitians self-reported wanting these skills and needing these skills. If we look at the physiotherapy profession, the Australian Physiotherapy Association did an In Practice 2020 report with Nous Group, who are a management consulting group, and they identified 3 strategic priority areas that the profession itself needs to focus on in the next decade to become more relevant to the changes and challenges that we're facing in healthcare. And they were business management, business education and training, and information technology. For these reasons, we really thought that getting in at the university level with some of this education, with industry partners, connecting you guys to them, will really give you an introduction into this needed space and skill set, but also put you ahead as you enter the workforce in what is becoming a continually rapidly changing world. We also know where is the growth of employment as health professionals. Hospitals, who have been traditionally the largest primary employer of health professionals across all health professions within allied health, are no longer the largest employer when students graduate. Increasingly, numbers are moving to the private enterprise. And when I say private enterprise, we mean community as well. So we have public, which is the hospital space predominantly. Then we have community, which may be a combination of private and government funding, aged care, non-for-profits, these kind of areas that have all identified that even in the public space and the community space, the skills of business and leadership and management are needed. And then we have the private space, which is private practice, sporting clubs, those sorts of things. As I said with the In Practice 2025 report, we knew that back in 2013 that primarily 37% of the graduates of physiotherapy were working in the private practice, and it's calculated that even within that time, as I'm giving this lecture in 2019, this has doubled. So if we look at the employment landscape across physiotherapy, dietetics, exercise physiology, occupational therapy, psychology, and the wider allied health area, the growth of employment and where we're going to continue to see us as Australians needing to meet the challenges of healthcare that we're facing is in the community and in the private sector. That's not to say that hospitals still aren't a major employer, they certainly are. However, with resources and with the increasing ageing population, with increasing population in general, with increasing healthcare needs, as I said, it's great for us because it will keep us in a job and we're certainly highly needed. However, more and more strain is being put on the public sector, driving a bigger demand in the community and in the private sector where these skills are really, really necessary. And that's being shown through evidence of where people are graduating, where their employment prospects are. So we now have about 2/3 of people, especially in the physiotherapy course, who will leave the course and enter the community and the private workplace setting as their first job, as opposed to 10 years ago when I graduated, which would have been a traditional pathway to go and do a couple of years in the hospital setting, some rotations, and then if you chose to move into that space. So really, this unit is actually built in response to meeting and consulting with the industry and the professions of allied health wider at large, and adapting to the need and the challenges that we're facing. So what are we going to cover in the leadership and management unit? Well, we have 6 weeks in this term and we're covering 6 key areas. It's a combination of theory based primarily around the Leeds model that I touched on earlier, and we'll explore that very little bit today, and you'll develop your understanding of that over the next 6 weeks, as well as practical workshops. We've worked really hard with this unit to make sure that we're connecting you, the students of this unit, with industry. We've got a variety of teachers and lecturers from academia, including the School of Health here at Swinburne, but also we've partnered with the School of Business, so they'll be teaching some stuff as well, alongside industry partners, and I've just listed a couple there in the slide, which we are very fortunate to be working with a number of industry partners in the allied healthcare space and in the business space. The unit learning outcomes for this unit. So what we're hoping is students, when they complete this unit, will be able to evaluate the qualities of a good leader and how to manage people and teams. Now, that's not to say that we want everybody after this unit to become a leader straight out of university, but the ability to identify and go and find good leaders to work for and find good managers to work for has been shown to dramatically increase your success of a career. If you can get early on in your career under some good leaders and good managers, you're going to be able to position yourself, learn more, engage more, and have a more successful career within the health professions. We want to briefly examine the legal and professional requirements for setting up a private practice in the profession and developing a business case and marketing that in this area. Again, not to say that we're wanting everybody to walk out of here being able to write business plans, but just having a business knowledge of 101 and a commercial reality of where things are moving and an understanding of how this works will be a building point to continue to impact the challenges of healthcare that we're finding with more and more people going into that community and that private practice space following university. However, also the public space has indicated that these skills are necessary for them and in the future. So for those who do want to go straight out and work for the next 10 years in hospital, don't worry, this unit will still give you some skills that are going to be able to enhance your experience there. Number 3, we want to explain the scope of practice. So do you understand what the profession can do, what our duty of care is to our patient? Touch on the relevant policies and guidelines and accreditation in that space. Now, we're only going to touch on that within this unit as an introductory, and throughout your course you're going to continue to get more aware of what is our duty of care, what is the policies, procedures that we as professions within the allied health space work within. But we really want to introduce that in this unit here. Number 4, critically applies various forms of entrepreneurship and its applications to Australia and a little bit in the global context as well. What we're really looking there with is entrepreneurship in itself is inherently problem solving, and health professionals are very good at problem solving. We problem solve diagnoses, injuries, treatments, conditions for our patients every day. However, we know that in healthcare, if we don't apply a more entrepreneurial thinking, if we don't start to tackle some of these bigger healthcare problems that are impacting Australia and the healthcare ecosystem, and if we don't start to apply innovations and technologies to address the changing healthcare needs, as an industry, we're going to fall behind. So we really want to introduce you guys to some thinking in that space. And lastly, explore the characteristics and mindset and skills of entrepreneurs, problem solvers, innovators that demonstrate their self-reflective learning. So this is about learning to think a little bit differently, as I said, but really taking our skills that we have as health professionals, inherently solving problems and helping our patients, to taking those to solving problems and helping bigger healthcare problems, or how could we do things a bit differently? How can we innovate here? How can we improve generally as a profession so that we can continue to meet the needs of our patients? How the unit will break down. As I said, it's 6 weeks structured around 6 topics. So week 1, we're going to look at leadership and management. That's what we're going to start with. Week 2, we're going to look at how to engage effectively. So that is how to engage effectively with colleagues, co-workers, stakeholders, referral partners, patients primarily. Week 3, we start to look at how do we drive innovation and entrepreneurship. Week 4, achieving outcomes. So how as health professionals do we achieve outcomes in the healthcare space, but also a little bit in understanding that inherently our healthcare outcomes are also tied to some business outcomes, some economic outcomes, achieving outcomes as a leader or working for a good manager who is able to focus on achieving outcomes is really important for a better healthcare system. Week 5, we look at culture and shaping systems. So how do we look at some of these systems, but most importantly, how do we look at culture? And as you start to introduce yourself to culture, you can start thinking about the kind of culture of the kind of workplace or the kind of area of healthcare that you may want to move into or you may want to have an impact on when you finish this course. And number 6, we look at technology in clinical practice. So we introduce a little bit in the technology space there. A lot of it is built around the LEADS model. So what is the LEADS model? The LEADS model is a framework of leadership that focuses on people, systems, and outcomes in the healthcare context. So it's one of the few frameworks of leaderships that is actually developed for the healthcare context. And it's about leading self, shaping systems, driving innovation, achieving outcomes, and engaging others. So there's no surprise as to how we've structured our 6 weeks to essentially touch on every week something in that healthcare LEADS model. And ultimately, as leaders, which we'll touch on in the next lecture, that all health professionals are, no matter what title they have, no matter where they sit in a health organisation, health professionals are leaders of their patients, of themselves, and of their continual learning. The LEADS model really promotes self-reflective and continuation of learning. So we have 3 assessments. Throughout the unit, you'll develop each week an e-folio. So in your workshops, there's content to reflect on. What have you learnt that week? How can you apply it personally? How can you use that for your continuation of learning? And that is done individually, covering unit learning outcomes 1 and 2. So you'll build on that week by week, and that's due at the end of the unit as an individual assessment. Then we have 2 assignments. 2 assignments that are group assignments, both weighted at 30% each, which I'll go into now. So as I said, the e-folio builds on week by week. What we do, you reflecting, you developing it, but continually linking it back to the LEADS model and the framework that we're really structuring this unit around, and the theory that comes with that, as well as the practical applications. Assignment 1, which is a group assignment, is a written assignment where you will actually go out and interview two leaders, which is why we're starting with leadership and management in week 1. And you'll interview these two leaders with standardized questions, and what you're really wanting to try and do there is compare different styles of leadership and what can you take from this, what can you learn from this, what insights can you gather from yourself in terms of your leading self, but also how two leaders can be very, very different but yet highly effective. And assignment 2, which is another group assignment, is based around developing a healthcare innovation pitch. So at the end of this course, what we're really wanting to see is you develop an idea to tackle a healthcare problem using some entrepreneurial, some innovative thinking, and develop a pitch which you will present to your fellow classmates. And that's presented at the end of week 6 in class. We also are pretty excited to announce that we've got a further pathway for those who do want to learn a little bit more in this, and that you guys are part of an Australian first here with Swinburne University. Swinburne University, working together with the School of Health and the School of Business, has been able to collaborate to develop a course which is a graduate certificate postgraduate course in business with a healthcare focus. Now, how that course comprises is, without going too much into it, but the leadership and management unit that you're doing now is one of the 4 units for that course. There's also a healthcare models and service delivery unit that some of you will take as you progress with your course, that looks a little bit more around health economics and how the health infrastructure and the system here in Australia works to get you job ready for when you enter the workforce. For those doing the physiotherapy degree, you'll automatically do those 2 units, which will count as prerequisites, which is great for you guys. Then we couple that, if you wish to engage with further study, the 2 units with the School of Business and Entrepreneurship that can be done after your studies, and completing those 2 units allows you to get an additional certificate as the graduate certificate in business healthcare. So as I said, we're pretty excited about it. Just touching on it now as a potential further pathway if you find that this is an area that really interests you, or 5 years down the line when you're in the workforce and you go, oh, I could really gain some more skills in that space as I move into managerial and more leadership roles. This is something that you guys will be the first in Australia to be able to benefit from. So in summary, we're hoping that we deliver you a very exciting and enjoyable unit, but really looking to challenge some of your thinking and to begin preparing you with skills needed for the workforce and where the job growth is. It's also a really great opportunity to learn from leaders in the healthcare profession. We're partnering with industry. Industry are going to come in, they're going to teach you. This is going to create wonderful networking and learning opportunities for you to begin exploring what your career pathway could look like following this degree. And you are part of an Australian first. We happen to, at this stage, be the only course in Australia offering this graduate certificate in healthcare. And we also happen to be the only course that's putting this much focus and this much attention on these skills this early on in your learning. So we really do hope that you enjoy your learning. We really do hope that you take something out of it. And most of all, have a bit of fun and think a little bit differently. Best of luck.